The proposed RTLO as opposed to RLTO. Some people like to suggest that TL in RTLO doesn't stand for tenant landlord, it stands for tenant lawyer.
Yeah, I heard that. Trial lawyer. I heard trial lawyer too. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. It is an attempt by, and I would say they're well-intentioned notions that tenants need protection. But to apply this this hammer or this bazooka and that just blindly subjects all housing providers to the rigors of not just the provisions of the RLTO, but added provisions such as restricting late fees to only $10 a month, to eliminating our ability to charge move-in fees when a tenant performs a material violation of their lease outside of non-payment of rent. Say they sneak a dog into their apartment, or they're engaging in loud and unreasonable behavior. You can't give them a 10-day notice. Now it's a 30-day notice. A variety of ideas. Month-to-month leases will be jeopardized. You now need to give 90-day notice on a month-to-month notice. These are intended to perhaps to deal with some of the bad actors out there. You know, there are landlords out there, especially in this day of COVID, that might engage in illegal lockouts or who might do a retaliatory eviction. You know, listen, we don't want bad landlords, and we embrace reasonable, appropriate legislation that can deal with that. If there was a proposal to, although laws already exist about illegal lockouts, it's criminal. But if the county wanted to reiterate that with an ordinance targeting that offense, we support that. We've offered that support. But it's during this time of COVID, when we're desperately hanging on, losing money, many of us losing money, dealing with tenants that some tenants are taking advantage of the system. Of course, there's also many tenants who are, due to no fault of their own, incapable of paying rent. But to take COVID as an opportunity to push through long-standing permanent new legislation that's going to dramatically impact our desire and our ability to invest. And the only exceptions besides Chicago, this county ordinance, it was originally told to me that it was only going to take effect in unincorporated Cook County. A very important commissioner assured me of that. Well, that's not the case. It does not apply in any municipalities that have a comparable landlord-tenant ordinance in place. That would be Mount Prospect and Evanston. And it does not apply to owner-occupiers of 6 units or less. So if you want to, you know, I know you guys talk about the opportunity to live in your building and then sell it and move on. Well, when you buy the building and live there, you're not subjected to this RTLO. But the moment you move out and it's not owner occupied, you are subjected to it. If you want to buy a condo unit, or you want to buy a single family house, suddenly that new tenant can avail themselves of this entire ordinance and all the provisions in it that put a burden on the landlord to, you know, to step it up in many, many ways and give tenants the right to do all those things that the RLTO allows. That's it might be well-intentioned, but there's an opportunity, especially with that 𝗬𝗏 provision. It's an invitation for certain lawyers to come in and find ways to award their clients with damages and attorney fees for them. And we, because it's a mandatory sentencing, so to say, we don't have really much negotiating room. We almost have to lay down and let them have their way. You know, on that 𝗬𝗏 thing, I'd like to make one more point. You know, the many people, whether they're progressives or even many more politically moderate people, understand that in the criminal arena, this notion of mandatory sentencing that, you know, in the era of toughness and get tough on drugs and all this, there was this notion that judges ought to be mandated to impose certain sentences and there's no discretion. And we've learned that that's bad policy. Judges make a lot of money and many of them are very talented. They have the capability of deciding what's appropriate on a case-by-case basis. Why is it inappropriate and deemed unlawful? Is it no longer a practice in the criminal arena to have mandatory sentencing? But when it comes to housing providers, there is no discretion for the judge. If we commit a violation, we have to pay these damages. That's just not right.